Hi, welcome. This is Mark Filkins, and my website is QueryNews.com. It's not up right now yet, so hang in there. One of these days I'll get it up. I still got to do a lot of work to it. I don't feel too well. Anyways, I want to talk about the cons. I call them cons or conservatives. And basically what it is, the con game is to get into power. That's their goal. They don't care about American citizens, you and me. They don't care about if you're old and dying in the street. They'll blame it on you. They come up with some excuse. I am a Republican, and I am conservative in some things, but I'm not conservative in taking care of people. I mean, we need to take care of our own. We should take care of grandmas and people, even if they don't deserve it. We should have a heart to care about people, even if they don't. They've done things wrong, they don't deserve it. That's what we do as Americans. That's the word American, is to help others. Even George Washington helped a lot of people on his farm, and eventually let his slaves go. Anyway, so what the cons do is they get into office and they'll cut budgets because they want to spend more money. So if they can slash the budget down low enough and then save some for themselves, so let's say there's a freeway project going on that's in the budget already. And so then what they'll do is they'll get rid of that project or cut the project down, size it, take that money, give some back, on a tax break maybe, or not, and then take that money and spend it where they want to spend it on, like a big skyscraper or something else. And that's what they do. So, or beat up the employees, the federal government or the state government, or counties and cities. The cities and counties beat them up and take all the money from them that they were paying them, and give a little bit back to the people. And sometimes, once in a while, they do give it back. But then next thing you know, the city doesn't have this money to do this and doesn't have money to do that, and so on and so forth. So the reason why we live so well in the past is because the federal government and the states and the counties and cities all sit down and they raise taxes to pay what they needed. Okay, so if they needed new roads, new things, they raised the taxes for that. If they needed to have a new hospital, for example, most hospitals, not all, but most hospitals in the United States are getting their money from taxes. Not all of it comes from insurance money. So a lot of people think, oh, this beautiful hospital, but part of it comes from insurance, a chunk of it, but a lot of it comes from federal government. Federal government went around and said, hey, we're going to build a hospital here, and they paid for the building and everything, put it together, and then the cities and raised some taxes a little bit up to pay for the doctors in there and whatnot, and maybe supplies. But the federal government has built hospitals for a long time. So what happened is that the cons get in office. I call them cons, conservatives, but they're really cons. And they get in there, and then they cut the funding for the hospitals. They cut the funding for everything, the fire department, the police, and everything. Or, and they lay off people and, make the long lines out the building and whatnot. And this is what the cons do. Because that way they can get in office by saying, oh, yeah, we got to cut a bunch of, we're going broke. Oh, we're going broke. You're going broke because you're not taxing enough. And yes, the super wealthy need to be taxed more. And that's why we used to have good health care and dental care and all those kinds of things, because the super rich were taxed pretty heavily. And that's the price you pay. They get the oil and stuff out of the ground that, they sell to us and we consume it. They get, because that oil is really, collectively, is all the United States people's oil. It's not the oil company's oil. It's our oil. And so we dig some of that oil out, and we best see how to spend that oil money. And so, and the oil companies, they're always BSing or complaining about it. Anybody that has to pay a tax bill doesn't like paying taxes. And that's been that way for the history of the United States and even before the United States. And that's why we went to war, was because the taxes were too high. And so, they claim they're too high. Doesn't mean they were. It's, I can pay a lot more in taxes. But the truth is that the super rich just figured a way to forward the cost down to us poor people. And if we continue on this trajectory of not sitting down and taxing enough to take care of bridges and roads and other things that we need as the federal government, state and counties and stuff, we don't raise taxes and do that properly, we're not going to have the things we need, like an extra fire truck or more police or whatever we need. And we can't tax them into oblivion either. Okay, I understand that, but we also got to have some taxes that we can function. And if we don't have that money function, if we continue to cut it down, I think last time I heard, this may not be true, but I heard last time was 12% for some companies. It used to be 98%, now it's 12%. That's too low. And we need to raise the taxes up. Now, what's equitable? I don't know. We could start off at 30% and see what happens, and take that money, pay down the deficit, a big chunk of it, and start paying down the other monies for insurance, of course, the Obamacare, whatever, and that would help people out. And then we can then sit down and determine, once we get the budget down, start paying down that big debt down, then we can think about more things we can do for the people. It seems like we've lost taking care of our people. It's like all the rich are running around trying to figure a way to screw us out of money from taxes, and there are a lot of other people that aren't rich. They're trying to screw money out of taxes, and then pretty soon, and that's kind of how it went way back when. It used to be they used to put taxes on imports or exports. So all the businesses complain about it. Say, oh man, you're taxing the imports too much, so I can't make money. So we got rid of those. And then, okay, you're taxing the exports too much. We got rid of those. And then we went with personal tax. And there's no way a personal tax can pay the kind of money that they need, okay, to run everything. It's not going to happen. And so they need to come up with an equitable tax system, and a flat tax doesn't work. They tried it, a flat tax. What that does is, if you, let's say it was 35%, this is how it kind of works. Apple, you get Apple. Apple sells a bunch of phones. Apple pays 12% tax or less, okay, because they get to do a lot of deductions and write-offs, so it's probably below 12%. But anyway, we'll say for now, sake of argument, it's 12%. That's what I heard. Excuse me. So they take the 12% and they pay it, and it's a lot of money, because they made billions of dollars, so they pay money. But it's easy to pay because they made billions of dollars, so they can afford, a couple $100 billion. Here you go, or well, they can afford $1 billion or $2 billion from selling the phones, because it's a small amount, and they're happy, and off they go, and that's not too bad. Okay, I can understand that, but what happens is that then we're not making enough money to make things work. Now, if you go the other way around and tax Apple too much, 35%, 40, 50%, or some higher number, then it's an Apple says, oh, I'm not going to make all those things for everybody. I'm just going to make products that I can sell just to a select amount of people and make a bunch of money that way. And I'm not going to make mass amounts of stuff. So now you have less stuff in the market, and you have prices that are super high, and only certain people can afford it. So what we need to do is come up with an equitable way to where the prices stay down low, so give the most benefit to as many people as we can, and yet not tax Apple to death either. So, but we need to raise the taxes higher, and we're not paying enough. And I'm not saying me, the poor people and the middle class and those kind of people, they're paying too much. They need to sit down, have a big meeting, pay off this deficit. The rich can do it. They have the money, and then sit down and figure a way that we all can live together. I don't need a big fancy house and a boat and run around and act like I'm somebody. I don't need that, and I think a lot of Americans don't need that. But how about just a regular house, and so they can have a family and be able to pay the bills? Yeah, that's the goal we should be doing for America. And so the cons, they get in an office and they slash everything. It doesn't help the economy. Sure, it will get going a little bit because, you were paying a higher tax rate. Now you're paying a little lower tax rate. And so you hire a few people maybe. And it kind of inspires the economy a little bit. But eventually it becomes the norm. And then they don't hire any more. They just stop right there because that's all they have to pay. And so we need to come up with a more equitable situation to where we can tax fairly, pay our bills, and get back to brass tacks and figure out how we're going to benefit people the most. I never hear that about when Trump was talking, or all those people. Maybe Trump said it, but a lot of the other guys didn't mention about what we're going to do for the people of the United States. It seems like they just want to say, what are you going to do for us, and we want to screw you out of your benefits. That's all I ever hear, and that's terrible. And so anyway, that's my polite. Hopefully, if you want to comment on it, just let me know what you think. I sure appreciate it. Thanks, and have a great day. This is Mark Filkins signing out from Query News.